breaking news. President Zelensky is denying Ukraine targeted Russian President Putin's residence in a drone attack. Russia's foreign minister says no damage or casualties were reported, but their negotiating position will be revised in light of the attempted strike. Zelensky calls the claim yet another lie from the Russian Federation. He says it's clear the progress Ukraine is making in peace talks with the U.S. is a failure for Russia because they don't want to end the war. To discuss this further, let's bring in foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli and ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Maggie, I just want to start with you here. Russia's foreign minister made this claim on Telegram just as President Trump was speaking with Putin on the phone. So what more can you tell us about this?
Well, yeah, Faith, as you mentioned, Russia is now threatening to revise their negotiating position, but Zelensky was quick to fire back. He calls that accusation a lie that Russia is using to prepare the ground for further escalations and to launch new strikes against Ukraine. Now, for their part, Russia has said that they are not pulling out of the negotiations, and in just the last few hours, the White House press secretary has confirmed that Trump and Putin spoke again this morning. That's their second call in just 2 days, Faith.
Yeah, and Mick, this comes just after President Trump met with Zelensky yesterday in Florida, where Trump said that they may be very close to a peace deal here. Could this actually derail that process?
Well, Faith, it looks like an attempt to do so by fabricating an attack on President Putin's residence. There is, as the Russians said, it wasn't actually struck. They're just claiming they shot down all these drones. So there's no evidence to that. I'd also like to point out that the leader of an army is a valid military target, not just his soldiers. So even if he was targeted, he's the one that started this conflict. He's essentially the commander-in-chief of the Russian army. But I do think this is what President Zelensky said, a fabrication, because they've been put into a box because it looks like the United States and Ukraine have come to an agreement on what this peace proposal should look like.
And it's so interesting because Russia launched strikes on Kyiv over the weekend. So how would an attempted strike on Putin's residence, if it were true or not, be any different?
Exactly. Russia has been deliberately targeting civilians, including children, throughout this entire war. The fact that he's upset that his house was attacked, I think the international community should care less, to be frank. But I do think this is more about their concern that the United States and Ukraine are getting closer and closer to alignment when it comes to what this proposal should look like, and the fact that we should enter into a ceasefire to be able to begin negotiations in earnest. They don't like that, and I think they just use this without any evidence that it happened, because it didn't actually happen, as an excuse to do so.
Maggie, meanwhile, President Trump is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just within the next hour or so. What are you watching for as this meeting is about to happen?
Yeah, well, one thing we'll all be watching is any ceasefire talks when it comes to brokering that ceasefire in Gaza right now, especially talks between the two leaders that could really lead to the peace plan pushing forward into phase 2. Now, you might remember a little over a week ago, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff confirmed that the U.S. met with officials from Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey in Miami to discuss the Gaza peace plan. They say they reviewed phase 1 and began preparing for phase 2.
Fair use, fair use. This content in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. All opinions expressed are my own and do not reflect the views of any organization I may be affiliated with. Viewers are advised to do their own research and take decisions at their own discretion. I do not intend to harm or offend anyone with the content presented. Use your own judgment and always seek professional advice if needed. Viewer's discretion is advised. All right. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. To you ribs, to you sisters out there learning in silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom. All right, so as you saw, there was this little peace, let's call it a peace break between Ukraine and Russia. But you saw that allegedly Ukraine was trying to target Putin's house, which is, all fair game, as they said, because they said there's no all is love. I mean, all is fair in love and war. That's what they say. But anyways, France and I think UK is gonna send troops over there to Ukraine. And I say that to say this, man, with this peace treaty, and then you sending troops over there, all it seems is like it's kind of like a timeout to reinforce and bring more troops in and stuff like that. Like, this thing's not slowing down. It's only escalating. When you bring in other nations into this, right, with also Putin claiming oil, one of those oil rigs that's leaving Venezuela, saying that if you touch it, that's ours. The U.S. has been taking the oil rigs down there in the Caribbean. All these things are happening now. This talks about I think Iceland or Greenland. Matter of fact, let me get it. This is from CNN. It says White House discusses option to acquire Greenland. Says military use isn't off the table. So Greenland is between, I believe it's between Canada and Russia, right up there, all the way in the cold front. And this is a very important piece for war, important land grab, right? It says the White House said Tuesday that President Donald Trump is discussing a range of options to acquire Greenland, making clear that using the U.S. military is not off the table, right? They're going to take that place by force. Quote, President Trump has made it well known that acquiring Greenland is national security priority of the United States, and it's vital to our adversaries in the Arctic region, right? Speaking about Russia. It says White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Tuesday's statement to CNN, quote, the president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal. Of course, utilizing the U.S. military is always an option at the commander-in-chief disposal, right? And I say that to say this, right? All this is going on. They're talking about peace treaties in Ukraine and Russia, right? And as that's going on, they are exporting the, I believe the president of Iran is running to Russia right now. They're putting him over there. They're gonna remove him from Iran to keep him safe in Russia. So they're making a lot of military moves in this so-called peace timeout. Let's just call it that, right? They call it peace talks, man. There is no peace. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai so cometh as a thief in the night, right? So nobody's going to know exactly when, Yahweh Shai is coming back, man. But we can definitely tell what season we're in, right? Right, that's what they're saying. It's coming as a thief of the night, man. But we are alert. We're waiting. Right, verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Right? So it's gonna come a point where out of the chaos they're gonna speak about peace and stability, and all of a sudden the opposite happens. Right? These people speak with a forked tongue. Whatever they say, they don't mean. And when they say one thing, they mean another. Verse 4, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should not overtake you as a thief of the night. We are waiting for the return of Hamashiach Yahushai patiently. Right? But, we can't wait, but we're patient. You know what I mean? We know that it's in due time. Right? And that's what we're waiting for, right? I'm going to put up the article about the Iranian president running to Russia. Because that lets you know that Israel is ready to make some moves. Before I bring that out, let's bring this one out. China bans military export to Japan amid Taiwan tension, right? So we know that Taiwan is tied to the UN and the U.S., really close to China. So we know we're looking at, the friction, the tension, the temperature as they speak. Right, they say, oh, man, we're going to check this man's temperature. We're going to see how, how's he reacting, right? What is his demeanor, right? This is what it means to check somebody's temperature, right? So here's China banning military exports, metals, and things of that nature to Taiwan, who is tied to the United States, letting you know what type of climate we are in right now. It says January 6, Chinese officials on Tuesday banned the exportation of some rare earth metals, earth minerals, and other goods that might have military use following comments regarding Taiwan by Japan's prime minister. Right? It says all dual-use items are prohibited from being exported to any entities that support Japanese military capabilities. China's Ministry of Commerce said in its first policy announcement of 2026, China never will allow Japan's right-wing forces to turn back the wheel of history. Chinese Foreign Minister spokeswoman Mao Ning told the media, peace-loving countries and people around the world will never allow militarism to make a comeback, Mao said. The policy announced cited China's export control law, which applies to all Chinese-made goods and some rare earth metals, including those already located in our nation, in order to safeguard national security and interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation. It has been decided to strengthen export control on dual-use items to Japan, Ministry of Commerce officially said in its translated announcement. So, Salakia, this is an export from Taiwan to Japan, not Japan to Taiwan. But either way, those two countries are tied to the UN, which want to surround China and North Korea, which it's just it's looking like. So if you was around in 2012 and you saw all those war games going on, like huge war games, right, where a bunch of militaries were like doing a lot of moves. They've been planning all these moves for many years. Like, if you've been watching. And right now it's starting to move all their pawns in the locations they need to start the third world. It has begun. Here it is. Iran Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei plans to flee to Moscow if Iran unrest intensifies. The Times. Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has reportedly prepared an exit strategy to Moscow should nationwide protests escalate and his security forces fail to suppress the unrest, according to a recent revealed intelligence harassment. The potential fight of Khamenei undergoes the deepening instability in Iran as protests continue across major cities in response to economic hardships and rising inflation. Right? Who do you think started these rising inflations and chaos within the city, man? Who has the power to do that? This is why Job 9:24 is one of the biggest precepts in the Bible, because we know that the whole earth is ran by Esau, Edom. I don't care where you are in this earth, right? There is no sovereignty. There is no boundaries that this man has no control over. This man went in there and started chaos to a point where the president itself had to run away, right? And they want this third war to happen. It works in their favor. They can stop it if the Lord allows them to, right? The Lord's in control of all of this, but at the end of the day, this is what it is, man. Read Romans chapter 13, verse 1 through 6, right? It says, if the supreme leader's authority is compromised, it could create a power vacuum, establishing not only domestic governance, but also Iran's regional influence. The intelligence report indicates that Khamenei, 86, may leave Tehran with a small group of about up to 20 aides and family members if the army and anti-riot forces compromise the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Bazik militia, police, and regular army defect or refuse orders, according to AP News. Right? This thing is steaming up. You know, we are excited for this, man. Right. I got one more for y'all. This is The Week. It says, are we headed for World War III? China and Russia could use U.S. attack on Venezuela as pretext to move against Taiwan and Europe. Right? That's what we're seeing. We're seeing escalation because we know, this devil knows that he got but a short time and he's moving. They are moving very quickly. There's a lot that's going on, man. It's only January. And by summertime, man, we could be in full-fledged attacks on not only U.S. soil, but UK, all them. France is getting involved, as you saw earlier, man. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. And that's the time that we in, man. I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, HaKudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. To you ribs, to you sisters out there learning silence and staying in order. I say to you all, Shalom.